Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. The big news for today is that the economic survey is now out in the open, released by the Government of India. As you know, the economic survey is by far the most authentic source of data about every sector of the economy released by the Government of India, usually one day before the budget. Since we have the Union budget coming tomorrow, the Government of India released the economic survey today in front of the entire country. Before we discuss the highlights of this year's economic survey, just a reminder tomorrow at 8 pm, we have a live session to discuss the union budget and the key highlights of the budget that will be coming up tomorrow. Don't forget to join us. This is right here on our YouTube channel at 8 pm. Now, the big headline of this year's economic survey is that the Indian economy is expected to grow at 6.5% next year, which would make India one of the fastest growing big countries in the entire world. As you know, the economic survey is an annual document which comes out from the side of the Ministry of Finance and is by far considered as the most important and authentic source of data on India's economy. The interesting part is it does not just talks about the government's achievements. It also highlights the challenges that the country might face out in the open and what are the solutions that we are working towards. It is prepared by the Economics Division of the Department of Economic Affairs under the Ministry of Finance, and it is headed by the Chief Economic Advisor to the Government of India. The first economic survey was presented in the year 1950-51, and up till 1964 it was presented along with the union budget. But since then, it is a separate document. Like this year itself, this was a document that was released one day before the budget. Now, since this also marks the beginning of the budget session in the parliament, and as you know, since we have the beginning of the session for this year, as a practice, the President of India shall come and address a joint sitting of the House. So, President of India, Srimati Draupadi Murmu, was in the parliament to address both the houses, where she highlighted the important points from the budget. She said that her government has been working for the interest of the entire country, which has ensured that the Indian government is faring much better than other countries, and we have completely recovered from the negative impact of the pandemic. The taxpayers are getting IT refunds within a few days. The GST, Ayushman Bharat, these initiatives have been the key towards India's growth. And not just this, the government of India has been focusing mainly on those sectors of the economy which require more help from the government. For example, under the Adivasi Ekta Mission, 36,000 Adivasi families have been given the benefits from the side of the government. Now, if you look at what are the highlights of the budget one by one, you would see that as per the Chief Economic Advisor, the Government of India plans to take advantage of the emerging Nari Shakti. This was also a clear theme in this year's Republic Day parade as well. The Government of India has been investing heavily on energy security and energy transition towards renewable energy. We are also trying to give a push to the MSME sector, which is considered as India's best chance to create a large scale employment, which we see as a necessity in the long run. The highlights of the budget also are that GDP has now almost fully recovered from the negative impact of the COVID 19 lockdown. We have achieved widespread vaccination, better than most other nations around the world. We have been able to ensure that there's a robust supply chain that is set up, despite all the negative aspects that are running around in the global economy, including the Ukraine Russia war and the China lockdown. We have also eased down on regulations that resulted in a growth of exports as well. Now, let's look at the survey one by one in different sectors. First of all, the state of economy. As per the chief economic advisor, the country has recovered completely from the coronavirus setback, and that can be seen in our growth numbers as well. The credit growth to the MSME sector was over 30% on average from Jan to November 2022. Not just this, our Indian currency also performed way better than most other emerging nations when the entire world was facing this problem of the US dollar being withdrawn from the emerging markets and going back into the US because the US Federal Reserve had increased their rate. We also can see economic growth due to the expansion of public digital platforms and the manufacturing output as well. In terms of social infrastructure and employment, the Government of India has witnessed a significant increase in government spending as well. There are schemes such as the Aspirational Districts Program, the e-Shram portal, the JAM Trinity, all of these have been the highlights of government's initiatives in the past year or so. For example, India has long been facing an issue of unorganized labor which do not get their rightful benefits. The e-Shram portal has now created a national database of unorganized workers which is verified through their Aadhaar card. We have close to 28.5 crore unorganized workers who have already been registered on the e-Shram portal. The continued use of JAM Trinity for direct benefit transfer has also ensured that the leakage in the government spending is minimal. The government has also been successful in giving a push to social infrastructure. Look at the vaccination rates that we have been able to achieve all across the country. More than 220 crore COVID vaccine doses have been administered as of Jan 6. We have been able to control the infant mortality rate, under 5 mortality rate, and the neonatal mortality rate. All of these have seen a steady decline. Even in the schools, which saw a big dropout during the COVID 19 pandemic, we saw that the gross enrollment ratio across schools has been improving. And not just this, even the gender parity is improving. That is, more and more girls are now coming out to take admission into schools. So, in this aspect also, we have now come out of the shadow of the pandemic. India has also been very proud of being a leader when it comes to climate change initiatives around the world. As you know, India has already declared the net zero pledge to achieve net zero emission by 2070. In this aspect, we already achieved a target of 40% installed electric capacity from non fossil fuels ahead of 2030. We are also on our path to reduce our emission intensity of its GDP by 45% by 2030 as compared to 2005 level. India, in collaboration with UN, also launched the LIFE initiative, that is Lifestyle for Environment, under which it is our hope that the entire world changes their lifestyle also, because even small changes in lifestyle, small changes in energy consumption pattern can make a large change in the overall environment. Similarly, our national green hydrogen mission is going from strength to strength. The green hydrogen production capacity has been improving year after year, and we are planning to reach at least 5 million metric tons per annum by 2030. The renewable energy capacity has been added by about 125 gigawatts, and it will get a bigger boost with the green hydrogen mission coming in full flow. We have now become one of those nations which are producing a huge amount of the energy through solar. Solar power capacity has also increased considerably. In fact, we also have been getting a lot of interest from nations and companies around the world, and a lot of investment has come in the field of renewable as well, which is a very encouraging sign. Not just this, we are equally focused on social infrastructure as well. 62.8 lakh individual household toilets and 6.2 lakh community and public toilets have also been constructed till August 2022 as a part of the national mission on sustainable habitat. Being an agrarian economy, we have always focused on ensuring that there are continuous improvements in the field of agriculture and the crop patterns that we employ throughout the country. Under this, the government has mandated MSP for all crops at 1.5 times of all India weighted average cost of production since 2018. We have seen an increasing growth in terms of food grains as well. The number of farmers that are covered under PM Kisan scheme have now reached 11.3 crore, which is again a big achievement for the government of India and is in line with the government of India's initiative aiming to double the farmers' income in the coming years. India, for many years, has been supported by a robust growth in services, and the pattern continues even today. We have seen a strong growth in the services sector. Credit growth also in the sector has gone above 16% since July 2022. Multiple digital banking units have also been announced to help the financial services sector. Not just this, sectors such as fashion, grocery, general merchandise have also been given a boost due to the government policies in the last year or so. Almost all the sectors, when it comes to services, has been a boon for the entire country in the past few years, ever since we have emerged from the COVID 19 pandemic. In terms of the number of foreign tourists coming to India, this number has also gone up significantly, which is again a very positive sign for different sectors of the economy, because on tourism, a lot of people depend for their livelihood, including tourists, the cab drivers, the hospitality sector, etc. In one simple terms, this is a snapshot of the Indian economy. You can see the fiscal deficit numbers here. very similar to that of the last year. Inflation, the retail inflation, as you know, has finally come down under control. Services has still been the shining sector. Industrial growth now also seems to be coming back on track after the COVID 19 pandemic. These were the key highlights of the economic survey that was introduced just today. Before I close this down, I would like to remind you, do join us tomorrow as well, 8 p.m., for the live discussion on this year's budget. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day ahead.